Hey guys, today we're going to be talking all about Andy Warhol. Last week we read a story called Uncle Andy's, and it was written by Andy Warhol's nephew, James. And it was a story about how Jamie and his family used to go visit Andy Warhol very frequently. And in the story, we saw different paintings by Andy Warhol. We learned a little bit about his background. For example, we know that Andy Warhol had 25 cats. They were all named Sam. On the left is an illustration from the story, Uncle Andy's. We also learned that he was a pop artist. So let's look some more at his artwork. So Andy Warhol is nicknamed the King of Pop because he is the one who really started pop art. Now, pop art is creating art of popular things. For example, Campbell's soup can, Mickey Mouse. We read in the story he had paintings of money, like dollar bills, paintings of Pepsi and Coke bottles. Again, taking everyday things and turning them into art. That was something that made Andy Warhol very special. He believed that everything was art in some way or another. And to do that, he would play with the colors and he would use his space in an interesting way. So let's take a look at these three paintings. And I want you to think about, what do you notice in these paintings? Particularly, how is Andy Warhol using color and using space? Okay, so let's think about color first. We see one realistic Campbell's soup can. But what about the rest of them? He's really using a lot of bright, playful colors. He's using abstract colors. Abstract colors, that's just an art word meaning he changes the colors from what they would be in real life. So instead of only having red and white and gold Campbell's soup, he has some that are green, purple, and yellow, some that are red, white, and blue. Again, he switched the colors up. So again, he's creating art with these ordinary objects by changing the colors. And now let's think about, how is he using his space? Let's see. Now this is a very famous actress at the time when Andy Warhol was creating art. Notice how behind this actress, this is Marilyn Monroe, there's a bright, bold color. You'll notice that behind the soup cans as well. There's one color in the background. And then when you look at the foreground, for example, these dollar signs, there's two colors in there. There's 3 or 4 on the soup can. So again, he's got one color in the background, and he's using what we call repetition. Repetition just means you repeat over and over again. So he's repeating the object or the person. And again, he's changing the color. So what we're going to do is we're going to be creating a composition of snowmen today. And with these snowmen, we're going to be using those abstract colors where we change the colors up from what they would be typically in real life. And then we're going to use that repetition. Again, you'll see that right down here with the soup cans. We've got one color in the background, abstract colors in the foreground, and then we're going to repeat our design over and over again. Okay guys, so now we're going to get ready to create our snowman composition inspired by the work of Andy Warhol. So again, we're going to use abstract colors where we switch the colors up from what they would typically be in real life. And then we're going to use repetition where we repeat our design several times on our paper. So what you're going to need is first grab a piece of paper. You can use notebook paper, regular white paper, up to you. I've also grabbed an extra piece to work as my placemat, so that way I don't mess up my table or your desk if you're at one. I have my Sharpie, and then I have some crayons. Now, you could use whatever coloring material you have with you at the moment. Okay, so to start you out, what you're going to do is you're going to fold your paper in half. Notice I'm holding it the long way. Fold it in half and crease it down with your fingers. Okay, I'm going to move the placemat so you can see a little better. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to fold it in half again. Line up the corners and crease it down with your fingers. Okay, I'll do that one more time. So again, I've got my paper the long horizontal way. Fold it in half and line up those corners. Crease it down with your finger and then fold it in half again. So that way I have 4 sections, and now I'm going to open it up. Very good. Okay, now very carefully, and again, I'm going to use my placemat to keep my spot clean. You want to trace that fold. Now you can use a pencil first if you would like to. And again, if you don't have a black marker, that is fine too. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to hold my paper horizontally. Perfect. Okay, so now let's get ready to create our snowman. So I am going to start by drawing the bottom of his hat, and I'm going to start with a little horizontal line right there. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to add the top of his hat. It's going to go off the paper a little bit, and that's okay. I'm going to add a little ribbon on there. Next, let's give him his head. There we go. You'll see how I go from one side of the top hat to the other. That's just one little trick I like to do. And now I'm going to draw the bottom part. And it'll just curve off, just like that. Okay, so now let's go in and let's add some details to our snowman. So I'm going to go in, let's give him a nose with like a triangle. We'll end the bottom of it with a little curve. So it's right in the middle of his face. Okay, now I'm going to come over. I'm going to give him some eyes. One, and I'm going to kind of peek this one out from over here. Now, remember, when you're drawing, if you would like to do different kind of eyes, you sure can. If you want to do winky eyes, eyes that are looking over to the side, just remember, since Andy Warhol is our inspiration today, it should repeat in each of these blocks. Okay, so now let's go in, let's give him his mouth. So I'm going to use that coal for his mouth. Give him a nice big smiley face. Okay, now let's go in, let's give him a scarf. So I'm going to start with a circle. And then I'm going to draw 2 lines, one going this direction and one going that direction. Okay, now I'm going to draw a line that goes down. So 1 and then 2 more. You ready? 2, 3. So now I've got 3 lines. Now, my snowman needs some arms. So I'm going to start with the line. Add his hand. See this little line, add his hand. Okay, I'm going to thicken that up a little bit. Here we go. Okay, now I want to go in and I want to add a little detail to my scarf. Now again, you could do polka dots. I'm going to do stripes. Keep in mind, whatever you decide, you'll have to repeat when you move to the other blocks. Okay, so now I've got my snowman. Oh, and I can't forget the little lines on his carrot. Okay, so let's do it again. You ready? Let's see again. We're going to start. First step is that diagonal line. Then we're going to add his hat. There we go. I'm going to add the line for the ribbon. And as I did before, I'm going to go from one side to the other with his head. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go in. I'm going to add his body. Goes down and around. Just like that. Let's give him his nose. There we go. And his eyes. Okay, now for the first step of the scarf, I'm going to start with the circle. There we go. Just like that. And then remember, I'm going to go 1, and then 2, 3. And then I'll add my stripes and my arms. Now, if they are not identical, that is okay. If you will look closely at mine, you will notice that mine are not identical. You'll notice my hat goes off the paper a little bit more than it does over here. His head is a little wider, And that's okay. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go in. Same thing. I'm going to add his arms. 9 times out of 10, if they're not exactly the same, no one is going to notice but you, okay? Because when we add the colors, people are going to look at the colors, not whether each little line is identical. Okay, so let's move down. Let's do another one. Okay, diagonal line. Top hat. Ribbon. Head. Body. Nose. Eyes. Remember that one's going to peek out over on the side. And then the mouth. Circle. Curve. Curve. And then those 3 lines. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Add our stripes. And our arms. And I want you to notice another thing. I'm outlining, or excuse me, I'm like thickening up some lines with my Sharpie, but I haven't colored anything with my Sharpie. So when you get ready to move to the hat, and this, you don't want to color with your Sharpie. And see, that's why I'm using my placemat. Okay, so now last one. You ready? Diagonal line. Top hat. Ribbon. Head. Body. Here we go. Nose. Eyes. Mouth. Circle. Line. Line. And then the 3 and we'll be done. 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so let's do the arms. Here we go. We'll add some lines here. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put the lid on the marker because I'm done with that. And I am ready to add color. So remember, in Andy Warhol's paintings, he would choose one color for the background. One color for the background. So let's see, let's get out my crayons. There we go. And you can keep yours in the box, but I'd like to look at my colors. So let's see, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with the background first. Normally I would start up here, but I really want to focus on getting some bright, bold colors. I'm going to come to the background. Now, you could do this with the end of your brush, or excuse me, I'm still thinking about paint from last week when I saw you guys. You could use the end of your crayon like I've shown you, or you can do it this way.